All right. Well, good morning again, everyone, and welcome to Thursday morning Bible study. We have been working on the first letter of John, and we'll continue. Last time we finished up chapter 2 and looked at, again, some of the themes that are in the letter that were also in the gospel. And a lot of those themes being light and darkness and the importance of love and loving and Jesus loved and all of that. We also saw a lot of reference to us as children, and we will actually continue with that image. Does anybody have any questions about what we did last week before we move on to chapter 3? All right. Why don't we, who would like to start by reading chapter 3, verse 1?
I'll read.
Go ahead.
See what love the Father has bestowed on us, that we may be called the children of God. Yet so we are. The reason the world does not know us is that it did not know him. Beloved, we are God's children now. What we shall be has not yet been revealed. We do not know that when it is revealed, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. Everyone who has this hope based on him makes himself pure as he is pure.
Okay, let's just stop with that. This should sound familiar, this passage. It's often read at funerals, and I'm sure it's part of the Sunday lectionary. Any first impressions about the passage?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what's that?
Beloved, we are God's children now. So haven't they, as Jews, always thought they were God's children?
What's that?
Verse 2,
Mm-hmm.
beloved, we are God's children now. What we shall be has not yet been revealed. But the part that gets me is we are God's children now. And who's he speaking to? He's speaking to the Jewish population, because they had always thought they were God's children, weren't they? God's chosen.
Yeah. I mean, he's not right. Remember, he's writing to John's community, and so he's writing to Christians.
Okay, so
he's trying to kind of encourage them and to keep them on the right path. So he's not addressing Jews in this letter. So what do you think he's trying to tell them?
Okay.
That you will be transformed in his likeness. If you do what you're supposed to do, if you keep love and faith, if you live in a life of faith and love.
I think he's. I was kind of think. Oh, go ahead, Regina. This is Esther. Go ahead.
No, I was thinking when you said children now, we are God's children now. I don't think he was saying we had never been. I think he's expressing to that now we are God's children, we need to act a certain way or be a certain way. I believe that's just addressing how we should carry ourselves or react.
Oh, that's interesting. Regina, I hadn't thought about that, but to me, that means a deeper kind of relationship. What you just said?
Yes.
But then also when I look at the second half of that, it's something for me that is extraordinarily hopeful, because it says what we shall be has not yet been revealed. So if you consider yourself God's children now, and this is this relationship that we have, what in the world could we be looking forward to in this sense of glorification and hope and being more like God, that we have no clue as to what we will be? We're children now, but what you're going to be has not yet been revealed. So that makes me excited, I guess I could say, and hopeful, and looking forward to the time when I'm going to be something other than what I am right now.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well then let's kind of look at it a little at a time. And I mean, all those thoughts were very good thoughts. So see what love the Father has bestowed on us that we may be called the children of God. All right, so what's the relationship between being a child of God and the Father?
Family.
What makes us
Adopted us.
children of God?
He's adopted us.
He, what makes us children of God is through his son.
Exactly. Now,
Well, just look what does
believe
John say in that verse?
see what love the Father has
it's-
bestowed on us.
So
It's,
he gave us his only begotten son.
yeah, I mean, but
That
you're going way you're getting a little bit more complicated than all John is saying. It's
well,
by the
Jesus,
it's by the love of the Father that we are children of God. Okay.
yes,
I mean, all that other stuff is, yes, that's all part of the love of the Father. But
Yeah.
we become children of God because of the love the Father has bestowed on us. Okay, it's his love that makes us children of God. Um, and and you're right. I mean, Jesus giving his son and Jesus's life and death and resurrection, that's all part of the love of the Father. But you know, right now, John's being just very simple. It's because God loves us. That's
Yeah.
why we're children of God. It's that simple. And remember, love is a huge theme, right, in his writings. So see what love the Father has bestowed on us, that we may be called the children of God. Yet so we are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so we are. Are we so called, or are we indeed children? What does that "so we are" refer to?
we are the children of God.
Yeah, it's not so we are called, right? It's so we are the children of God.
Right.
And the reason the world does not know us is that it did not know him. Who did it not know?
Jesus.
Jesus.
It's Jesus.
Um, and what word do we see here that keeps getting played throughout the Gospel of John? Remember Gnosticism?
You did not know him?
What's that?
We
Know him.
To know, right? You know, this is a verb that's used throughout this gospel because he's putting it in contrast to the Gnostics, right? The Gnostics were those who said they have a secret knowledge. And so they're on the in because they have this secret knowledge. And John keeps coming back at them and say, you don't know anything. Because all you need to know is Jesus, and you don't know him.
right.
And so you basically know nothing. You know, so move on from your Gnosticism. We're not impressed by it. Okay, so yeah, so now this is verse 2 is really the heart of it, and it just is really quite mind-boggling. So, beloved, we are God's children now. What we shall be has not yet been revealed. So I would agree with Regina. I don't know that we were never God's children. That's who we are now. While we're on this earth, we are God's children. And we know that because of the love of the Father for us in Jesus Christ.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That weren't we always God's children, but we didn't recognize that we were?
Well, I think what he's trying to contrast is being God's children now with what has yet to be revealed. Okay. So,
I'm sorry. I was thinking that we are God's children now, but there is a struggle to being God's children with a lot of people. I mean, we're God's children, but we have to be victorious being his children. So, for example, you can decide that, yes, you're married and you're going to, well, I won't go there. But for example, one of the deviants in our society is lust. I mean, you could have been one of God's children and then someone could have persuaded you to take a different turn. But it has not yet been revealed because you really need to prove that you are victorious as a child of God. That's how I see that.
okay, well, he definitely, as he goes on, is going to talk about how we become and how we remain children of God. So yeah, it is going to have to do with who we are and what we do. But by saying that we're God's children now, but what we shall be has not yet been revealed, what is he implying by that? What do you think of when he says you're God's children now, but what we shall be has not yet been revealed?
More to come.
That we
No
may
one
be
knows
something
what
more
to
greater
expect.
than what we
Yeah,
are now.
something's going to change about us, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's, it's not clear that we're going to lose our status of God's children, but we don't really know what's going to happen, but we know something more is coming.
Yeah. The next sentence tells you, we do know that when it is revealed, we shall be like him. That's what I'm saying.
And why shall we be like him? Don't lose that last part.
For we shall see him as he is.
All right, so what does that mean to you?
Yeah, that's
That
death. I believe that would be death. I don't know.
What is he talking about? What does that mean to you?
To me, it's the reality of God. It's like seeing the face of God, being in God's presence. Everything that he or she or it is will be revealed when we see him as he is.
Yeah. And that to me equals knowing all the truth.
Okay, and then what's the timing, so to speak? What is now, and yet what is to come? What has not yet been revealed? When is it going to be revealed? How do we know?
Oh, at the coming of Christ?
At the coming of Christ, we don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
We don't know.
Reference to the end of time, right? The return of Christ.
Don't know.
And all we know right now is that we are God's children.
Yes.
But we do expect something will change when Christ returns on the last day. but we really don't know what that is,
Right.
except somehow we shall be like him,
Like him.
for we shall see him as he is. So what what's that mean? What are you looking forward to? What is this transformation?
Oh,
For
maybe
me, I can't even imagine what it would be. I think in my mind, it is so beyond my human limited comprehension that I can't even, wrap my head around what it could be. That's
Yeah,
where I am when I read this.
I highly agree with you.
It's a divinity. It's so it's when we recognize Jesus as being divine. I believe it's
maybe
as being one with God.
maybe it's like the transfiguration. We'll be lifted up and we'll see him. And it's all our goals to see him face to face. Even to ask the question, because I got many. Maybe he ain't gonna let me answer all the questions, but you know, but it is our desire, the deepest desire to see him face to face. I would love to see him face to face. How I'm gonna go about that, I don't know, but hopefully I'll get pure enough that he will be in his presence.
Yes. And I think we will recognize him because of who we are and who he is and how we've followed him. So we will be able to relate that to him. That's how I see it. I'm hoping that word hope, I'm hoping that based on him and who he is.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think there's some important things that you're coming to. This is beyond what we know right now. Okay, it has not yet been revealed to us, so we have to be careful when we talk about what's it going to be like at the end of time.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know, right? But what does he have a sense of that we're going to be united with God somehow, right? Now we're going to be like him, but we're not going to be him, right?
Right.
So there's some sort of transformation that occurs that will create some level of really union with him, right? Because we'll be like him. And we shall see him as he is. So that implies that we don't see him as he is right now, right? And that probably stems also from the Jewish idea that if you see God, if you see the face of God, you die, right? So we God remains somewhat hidden from us. But at the end of time, it's all gonna be revealed to us. And I, I think it's really important. I don't know if folks ever really sit down and wonder what it's going to be like at the end of time. I mean, why do we even care about any of this stuff? If we don't try to imagine what it is we're headed for. But one of the things I always remind folks is that, we really can't know what it's going to be like. All we know is it's going to be different, right? It's going to be different from what we are right now. And somehow there's going to be a closeness to God that we don't experience now. And if we're that close to God, what does that do for our relationship with each other? It joins us closer to one another, right?
Maybe.
Father Rich, you
One of the
just
commands is love one another.
you just said what I was thinking, and I'm glad you said it because I probably couldn't say it as well as you said it, but I was like, do we, let's be real. Do you sometimes think about the afterlife? Where will I be in the end time? What is the end time? Where will I be? Where will my soul be? Right. And so I think it takes a really rooting and grounding in God. And that word hope is the thing that probably is the link to keeping us forward moving. But sometimes, I'm gonna be honest, sometimes I think about that, is there life after death? Right? How does it feel in that transformation? And we, people die, they're going to heaven, but do we really know? Right? We would believe that, and that makes it a comfort to us here in the land of the living. But I know for me, sometimes that thinking gets on me. And so I know I'm probably all over the place, but it's I wonder sometimes. And like you say, we don't know, but we have to hold on to that hope.
Right.
And that's the thing that propels us to keep moving forward, or that is our hope, to hold on to that when and if that time comes, this is where I believe I'll be. That's my bicentennial minute.
No, I think that's great. I really would hope that folks take time to reflect and pray over what is it that we're headed for? Because, to me, if you can't begin to imagine, we can't know it for sure, but if we can't begin to imagine it, then how is it our hope, right? It has to be our hope because somehow we know something good is coming. And we want to be part of that. And right now, all John is telling us is there is going to be some kind of change. We're God's children now, but what we shall be has not yet been revealed. And as I said, that doesn't mean that we won't be God's children in the future, but obviously we're going to be different from that. We're going to be more than what we are now at the end when it is revealed. And somehow we are going to be like him, and we shall see him as he is. And that's pretty amazing when you think about it. I mean, to me, when I think about these kinds of things, I move beyond just sort of what we look like now and how we walk around now and how we see each other. I feel that there's definitely going to be some kind of union among us that just doesn't exist right now. And somehow there's going to be a union with God and a union with each other. And we will not only know God and see him as he is, we're going to know each other and see us as we truly are. So, Chua Madawa, what does that mean to you? Why would you want that? Because if you don't see it as something you want, then there is no hope in it.
And what I didn't say is when my mind gets like that, sometimes it brings me back to the reassuring word of God to help me to keep that balance. So, I mean, I don't stay out there, but I need to reinforce and reassure my hope. And I come back to the word, and even passages like this is reassuring to my hope that, something better is coming.
Okay. All right.
My,
So,
my, oh, and this is just like an aside. Mike, I totally agree with you because my mind has gone so far out there. Sometimes it's like, what are you thinking? I mean, like you said, Father, what happens after? And then sometimes it's like, okay, if you get to heaven and if it's all the same as all the time and all this happiness, are you going to get bored? I mean, it's all kinds of things that go through my head. But one thing that keeps the hope, and I'm hopeful anyway, but if you've ever experienced joy, not happiness, joy, if heaven is one drip drop of the joy that we felt here on earth, I can't even imagine how amazingly wonderful, like you said, communion with each other. And I think, oh, maybe we'll have telepathy with each other and empathy and all of that kind of stuff. So it's that joy that I felt here on earth that makes me know that there's so much more waiting for us, which is exhilarating to me and it's exciting to me and it's hope.
Yeah, that's wonderful. But we got to bring that hope to other people because there's a lot of people out here who don't have that hope.
Amen.
Life has not brought them a whole bunch of joy, and they want to believe in God, but life keeps turning the other way. So our job is to help. How do you help them see the hope that God has for us? And sometimes you can't see it when you are struggling with addiction. You try to figure out how to pay the rent, how to feed the kids. Joy is not in everybody.
Well, let's move on from that to see what is the nature of that. I mean, where does it come from, and how do we participate in it? So, Loretta, were you reading or was it Garnetta? Who was reading?
Rather,
No. Loretta.
Okay, you want to continue with verse 4? Oh, maybe we lost Loretta.
no, she's still in there. I don't know, Loretta, if she got up and went somewhere, but
Is she on mute?
All right, Garnetta, you wanna fill in for your sister?
I'm sure. Everyone who commits sin commits lawlessness, for sin is lawlessness. You know that he was revealed to take away sins, and in him there is no sin. No one who remains in him sins. No one who sins has seen him or known him. Children, let no one deceive you. The person who acts in righteousness is righteous, just as he is righteous. Whoever sins belongs to the devil, because the devil has sinned from the beginning. Indeed, the Son of God has revealed, Indeed, the Son of God was revealed to destroy the works of the devil. No one who is begotten by God commits sin, because God's seed remains in him. He cannot sin because he is begotten by God. In this way, the children of God and the children of the devil are made plain. No one who fails to act in righteousness belongs to God, nor anyone who does not love his brother.
Okay.
That's it. I
So
love it.
what's your impressions?
most of the sentence to me is right. I mean, the paragraph is.
I'm sorry, Dee, I can't hear you.
I said most of the paragraph is correct. I believe in that. Whoever belongs to God it's hard to commit a sin. I mean, you know, and you don't things that you used to do, you don't do anymore. You don't even have the desire to do things you used to do. If you did all the things in the past and you think about it, you don't even think about going there anymore. It's sort of like a story they keep saying about Mary Magdalene, and how she found God. But it's like once you find him, it's hard to go back. It's just hard to just if you really found them, it's hard to go back.
Wow. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I had to go out and come back in because I answered my phone and then I just lost the volume, whatever. But anyhow, thank you, sister, for reading that. I was thinking about um, with this part of the chapter, just sin versus how I develop my moral excellence. How can I get as close to whatever the definition of is excellent as the highest level possible? How do I develop that? And how do I keep my fellowship with God?
How would you connect what John is saying in this paragraph to what he just finished saying? So we are God's children now. What we shall be has not yet been revealed to us. How would you connect that to the whole idea of righteousness and sin?
No one who remains in him sins. No one. It's how he, what we shall be has not been revealed. This part to me makes sense because sometimes we don't know what we're going to do. And the person who acts in righteousness is righteous, just as he is righteous. He is righteous.
Yeah, and I think earlier, Father Rich, I think Dee brought it up who he was talking to, his beloved. And you were saying that John was talking to his community. I think he's saying the same thing. It's like, don't let man deceive you. You have to be grounded in your faith and in your love in order to be transformed into the likenesses of God, to the likeness of God.
So are we righteous and avoid sin just so that we can be there when it is revealed of who we are?
Can you repeat that, please?
So are we righteous now because we want to be part of what is going to happen to us in the future? Or is there other reasons to be righteous now?
I think we need to be righteous in hopes that we can be with him in the end.
Is that the only reason to say?
No, it's the love that we have for God and his son that we should carry with us to keep, I don't know how to explain. We love Jesus, we love God, but sin is something that we should not even want to know about. It's
and I
not.
think we're righteous because that's his commandment to be righteous.
Yes. We don't sin. Well, some people do, but we don't sin. Everyone does not sin because we like to sin. But if our faith is what we proclaim it to be, then we're going to try our best to live righteous.
Yeah.
Gotta role model it to be a role model as well.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess what I was trying to do and what I did always connect this idea of righteousness and not sinning with that we are God's children now. In other words, we're not righteous just because of what's going to happen. So we don't do the right thing because we want to get into heaven. We do the right thing because we are children of God now. And if we are God's children now, then he remains in us now. In other words, and I think it was Loretta, you know, there's a certain joy that comes to us now by being righteous and by being a child of God and by having God in us now. So if you look at the images, you know, so he uses again, no one remains in him, you know, that remember that whole word, that's a big word for John. His seed remains in us, right? What does that imply? The seed remains, God's seed remains in him.
Could that be the Holy Spirit?
Well, what do you think of when you think of a seed? What's going to happen to a seed?
It grows.
Yeah,
Planted
it's
in
going to
the
grow. It's going to transform into something greater than what it is right now.
Right.
Okay. So go ahead.
He implanted in us the seed. The word is the seed to me. And he implanted the seed into us. So therefore we know which way to go and what to do and what not to do.
Yeah, and if the seed is God's word, if that's how you want to conceive, well, in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. You know, so God puts a bit of himself into us. And that's what he does for us now. And what that seed, what that piece of God in us now will ultimately become, we're unsure. But we can experience God's presence in our lives now if we remain righteous and avoid sin. So to me, it's always really important to point out to people that we're not moral so that we can get into heaven. That's not that's not why we're moral, because of who we are and how God remains in us. And we can experience that here and now. We don't have to wait until the end of time to experience God's presence in our lives. But we're really only going to know that presence if we, you know, strive to be righteous.
So just to be clear, that seed that God has planted in us is planted in everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has that seed, and it's up to us to be able to and you know, so it can grow, prune it so it can grow. If we don't do that, then we are turning our backs on God and deciding to do what is not righteous or moral in his eyes. So,
I'm glad you said that, Father Rich, about righteousness and try to avoid sin, because again, this was messing with my head, because verse 4 says, everyone who commits sin commits lawlessness, for sin is lawlessness. But when we go back to the first chapter, verse 9, it says, if we acknowledge our sins, he is faithful and just and will forgive our sins and cleanse us of every wrongdoing. Because sometimes, you know, there's no perfect person. Basically, that's what I'm getting at. So sin is upon us, right? So you put that in there that says avoid sin and be righteous. Because I was like, wait a minute, we sin, you know, but if we don't acknowledge that sin or confess that sin, then I guess we are lawless, right? So, but that was just messing with my head. I was like, wait a minute, because we do sin, and I had to go back to that verse 9 to read that, acknowledge your sins. So that's what triggered that when you said avoid sin and seek righteousness. But anyway.
Yeah, Mike, I'm glad you put it that way, messing with your mind, because when I first looked at this, it sort of seemed like a contradiction, because I'm thinking, well, we're sinners. We're all gonna sin at some point or another. But then the message came to me that I have to be vigilant. I have to be completely vigilant all of the time if I believe that God's seed remains in me. Because when I look at, because God's seed remains in him, he cannot sin because he is begotten by God. I think that refers to Jesus, but then God's seed is in me also, but I know I can sin. But because the seed is there, I do know right from wrong, and I can make the choice to repent for my sin or do whatever. And then the other verse 8, whoever sins belongs to the devil, because the devil had sinned from the beginning. I thought, well, I don't want to belong to the devil. So if God's seed is in me, then I have to be vigilant to remember that, and that if sin comes upon me, and it's going to come upon me often in thought, word, or deed, or whatever it is, but the seed, God's seed is in me. So I know the difference between right and wrong, and I make the choice to be right in God. So that when I look at this and I'm saying, well, how can I make this work for me? What is it saying to me? And it's saying that you have to be vigilant all of the time if you call yourself a child of God and the seed is in you. You know the difference. It's like not like you don't know.
Can I
And
read something?
on that note, I struggle with those who were born with a brain that doesn't allow them to do what we're talking about right now. Those who maybe were part of their illness of schizophrenia cause them to be angered or to be harmful to others where they have no control over it. I struggle with that, with people who have a kind of mental illness where they can't reflect or they can't imagine it or can't be diligent in their growth, although they still, like all of us, have that seed planted in us. I struggle with that.
Read something to you. It says here that there is a difference between committing a sin and remaining in sin. Even the most faithful believers sometimes commit sins, but they do not cherish a particular sin and choose to commit it. A believer who commits a sin repents, confesses, and is forgiven. A person who remains in sin, by contrast, is not sorry for what he is doing. Thus, he never confesses and never receives forgiveness. Such a person is against God no matter what religious claims he makes. That's correct. Thank you.
Well, I see, I understand what you're saying there, but I also have walked the streets and seen people talking to themselves. I've actually been assaulted by someone who I tried to help in distress, who was out of their mind at the time, and I got injured. And I'm thinking, it how I don't know what to say.
Larissa, I've often thought about that too, but somehow or somewhere in my mind, I kind of feel like people who are in those states of mind are almost like exempt. And what I mean by that is that God is not going to judge them the way that God judges us, because we do know better, because we have the ability to be rational, to think, to understand, to comprehend. Those people don't. But I sometimes believe that those people exist because we are the ones who then have to take care of them. And like in your situation, I know that was probably horrifying. But you, from the goodness of your heart, was trying to help someone who wasn't capable of understanding their actions. But I mean, I look at the homeless, I look at the addicted, I look at those with mental illness, and we're here to provide for those people. You know, when God said, take care of your brothers and your sisters, that's part of what I think he meant when, you know, we have people among us who just are not capable.
Okay,
I don't know. That's
let me
my
just,
take. I don't know how you feel
jump
about that.
in. Let me jump in because I think there's an important distinction that has to be made. You know, and again, this is all part of our moral theology. So there's a difference between evil and sin. Okay, you with me so far?
Yes.
A difference between evil and sin. So what do you think the difference between evil and sin is?
Intent.
Intent,
Yes.
right?
Evil would be an intentional act.
It's choice. A sin, by definition, is a choice to participate in evil. Okay, but not all participation in evil is by choice, correct?
True. Yeah. Yes, right.
Yeah.
And so if we participate in evil, but we did not choose to do so, it is not a sin for us. We're simply
If
participating.
we participate in go ahead, Michael.
That was Father Rich. Could you
Oh.
repeat that, please?
So if we participate, so I was saying, by definition, a sin is a choice, a free will choice, freedom, all that stuff, free will, freedom, open choice to participate in evil. Okay, but not all of our participation in evil is a sin. So, very simple. We're in a car accident. We're driving the car. We get into an accident and we kill the person in the other car in that accident. Is that evil?
No.
Oh, no. Yes, absolutely. It's
Yes.
evil.
Yes, evil because that wasn't a choice to kill the person. I mean,
No.
Oh, it's
It's
evil, but it's
evil.
not a sin.
This is what you have to, it's evil because somebody died. All right. That's a bad thing. Okay.
But it wasn't a sin.
A sin because you did not choose to get into the accident to kill that person. Okay. So you participated in evil when you were in that accident and that person died. That's an evil. And you participated in it. Wow. But it wasn't a sin because you did not choose to participate in it. Right. So when he's talking about people who are living in sin or remaining in sin, it is people who repeatedly are choosing to be part of evil. They're aligning themselves with evil, with the devil, as opposed to choosing to align themselves with God, with goodness. All right. That's what sin is. You cannot sin if you do not choose. It's impossible. Okay. Part and parcel of sin is choice. So that's a very important distinction to make. All of us participate in evil at some point in our lives. But that evil is not necessarily a sin. So a person who does not have the capacity to make a fully informed free choice, even if they commit evil, are not sinning. All right, because if they can't choose that, it can't be a sin. So the person, even if we went back, the person who accosts you, assaults you, if they're not in control of their decision making,
Right.
they're
Mhm.
committing an evil. There's no doubt they're committing an evil, but they're not sinning. And that does not separate them from God. If, just because they're committing an evil.
So that kind of like happened to a man last night. Was it last night or the night before here in Maryland? I can't remember where it was. I don't know what the city, but he did the same thing that you did, Loretta. Man came down the street, looked like he was a little disoriented. So the man tried to help him, and he stabbed him 3 times and killed him.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
And he was trying to help the guy because he was an advocate of social justice, really. And he was trying to help him calm down. And the guy just said, "I'll kill you," and then went over and stabbed him. And I think it's that evil you was talking about, but I don't think it was necessarily a sin because I don't think he knew he was killing the man or something. Even though he said it, it just didn't feel like he knew what he was doing.
Well, we may never know that. And I think that's the other important part about sin. I mean, for true sin to occur, we really do need to know what's happening in that person's heart and mind. And we really have to admit that only God knows that.
I was getting ready to say.
All
It's
said.
a song about that called Only God Knows.
So, those situations, I agree with you, Loretta, are very troubling. And what happens to people who are not making free choices? I mean, I do think that it's helpful to realize that you can participate in evil and not separate yourself from God. It's when you participate in sin that you're separating yourself from God.
Right.
Because you're choosing not to be one with God when you sin. But when you participate in evil, that may or may not be part of a choice. So remember, whenever you see that word sin, if it's used properly, it always involves a free choice. Okay? And if it doesn't, the person might be participating in evil, but they're not sinning. Okay? And it's sin that separates us from God, not evil. God can be present to evil, right? And that doesn't mean we're separated from God. So, that horrible incident that Dee just explained, the killing of another person is an evil. It's awful. But that person really who was being killed was not separated from God. God was with that person. And if the person killing him wasn't of his right mind and couldn't control his behavior, God was still with that person too. So let me kind of bring this all to an end, which I think was really kind of the point I was trying to make. So let's say somebody says, well, if God is merciful and will forgive, why don't I just live however I want and just keep asking for God's forgiveness so that at the end I'll get into heaven? What would you say to that person who just sees righteousness as a vehicle to get into heaven, and depending on the mercy of God?
I say he's seeing them wrong.
What's that?
I've heard people say that.
Yeah.
All I can do is go to confession. I can do what I want to do, but all I can do is go to confession and I'll get into heaven.
Okay,
And
so what are you missing out on?
You're missing out on the joy and the peace that you get from believing in God. The joy that you have that you don't want to sin. I mean, there is a peace that that lose the understanding that when you have that peace, you don't even think about committing sin or wanting to do sin. But for the person who comes into that confessional just because he wants to do a sin, he's choosing, like you just said, he's choosing to go out and sin so he can choose to come back and confess. That's not what God has asked us to do.
It's an
So,
Yeah.
abuse of choice. So,
yes, thank you, Julie. It is.
Well, it certainly is that, but I really what I'm getting at is exactly how you started it, Dee, is that when you know the presence of God in your life, the joy of going through life is much better, right? It's stronger.
Yes.
That we choose to be righteous, not just so we can get into heaven. We choose to be righteous so that we can remain in God and God remains in us, because life will be so much better now when we remain in God and God remains in us. And I think that's John's whole point by saying you are God's children now. So enjoy it. Know God in your life. Have the best life on earth as you can as the children of God, because you got to get through this life.
Yeah.
So know that you are God's children now, and God is in you, and you are in God if you strive for what is right and just. What you shall be in the end, that yet hasn't been revealed to us, but we know that it's going to be even better because we will be like him, and we shall see him, for we shall see him as he is. So you see what I'm trying to get at? The reason we're righteous now is not so that we can get into heaven. We're righteous now so that as we live life now, we will have the benefit of the joy of God's presence in our lives now.
And how many of us really think that way? There's some folks that do think that way, that righteousness will get me into heaven, or if I keep doing this good work, that'll get me into heaven, right? So we're going deep today, Father Rich. Thank you. Thank you. Because how you just explained it again, how many of us go that deep? Like, enjoy the life. We're children now. Enjoy the life now, right? That it's not, if I deliberately be righteous, that's my guarantee to get me into heaven. I'm just thinking some folk, I don't want to say everybody because that's a blanket statement, but a lot of us think that way and think that we won't get there because of the works that we do. That's kind of what I'm trying to say.
I don't think so. I don't think a lot of us even think about what we're doing when we're doing it, good or bad. But when we live righteous, we do it because it makes us feel good.
Thank you, Regina. Yeah, because it feels good.
It's just
Sinfulness makes you feel rotten inside. I don't care what they say, how good it makes them feel doing wrong. They don't feel good. They don't feel good.
Because it gives you the guilt that you did it. And,
But do we live in that state?
I do now.
Are we a
believe
constant?
we do.
Okay.
I seriously do. And I'm going to tell you something that has helped me is this Bible study. This marks 4 years that I've been in Bible study with St. Bernardine. So it has helped me to not only learn how to better fellowship with God and you guys, but it has helped me to be diligent in my growth. So I don't stop studying the Bible when I'm off this Zoom call. I do so many other things. I mean, especially the way I've increased in the way that I pray. I mean, there are several things that has helped me in my growth. So it gives me more joy. Sometimes people can't understand why I am at so much peace. And so I can only show that by what I exude. So I just want to thank you guys, and thank you, Father Rich.
That sin is
think-
still lurking about.
Yes, but
You
because
know,
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
it's real,
yeah,
and
you-
sometimes,
I'm loving the conversation, y'all.
but the joy that we feel because the joy we feel because we are children of God, because we follow Jesus Christ. I mean, I wouldn't even think about, if I had to choose, I wouldn't even think about going backwards. Because you thought you was having fun or having a good time sinning. You think back, you really wasn't. Back. You really wasn't having fun. There was that, like Regina says, it was that guilt you felt after you did it. It was like, oh my goodness gracious. Now you do things, you don't think about the good, you think about the joy that you had.
Right. Yeah.
even if you find a big bulk of money somewhere, it'll bother you for a while. I don't know how long.
Yeah.
But at first it'll say, oh, I wonder who dropped this money. Well, if you were really, really, really that bad, you wouldn't care who dropped that money. You see what I'm saying? It's, I don't know, it bothers you. It eats you up on the inside.
Yes.
Yeah, God bless us with a conscience. Because we have a
That's
conscience.
what it's called, conscience.
So it's hard to understand how, any one person is motivated, or, how many people think this or how many people think that. But I think what's really important in what John is trying to say, and by saying you're God's children now, and what we shall be has yet to be revealed. It's it's sort of like the expression, all of this joy and heaven too, right? In other words, just being a child of God and living on earth with God in you, with God's seed in you. I mean, that's just great in and of itself.
That's the joy.
And then it's even going to get better.
Yes.
So, to me, when I talk to people about living the moral life, it's not because of what's to come. It's because of what you get now out of it.
Right now.
And the more we unite ourselves with God now, the more joy, dignity, peace, all of these words that we've been using, hope, all of these virtues are ours now. And you get all of that and heaven too, when it comes to an end. But we're not doing it for heaven. We're doing it for now, because we are children of God, and God has given us that love, made us his children just because he loves us. Now don't squander that love. Let it grow within you. And then someday you'll know about heaven too.
Yeah, I see you there, Father Rich.
So I just put that out there because, quite frankly, I don't do things in order to get into heaven. Getting into heaven is totally God's choice. I have no idea what God is going to do. I pray and hope and depend that God is merciful, so that even though I have sinned and all of those things, that God's love will overcome that. But you know what? I do it now. At least I'm having a good time loving God and loving each other now. And I'll be sad if it doesn't get better, but at least I'm enjoying it now. And I won't regret. I don't regret doing the right thing. And I'm not sure that doing the right thing always makes you feel better, Regina. I think sometimes it's hard to do the right thing. And there's a lot of there can be pain with that. But yeah, I think the feeling is what I guess, but what you do get is a dignity and an integrity of who you are as a child of God. And that's worth living for, even though it might hurt to do the right thing.
Mhm.
In the end, it's worth living, it's worth doing in order to be the child of God and to know what it means to be the child of God. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah, it's so powerful. Just so powerful.
Yeah. Well, as we said, even when we were doing the Gospel of John, John is a powerful writer. He is very deep. He's really thought a long time about these things, and we get the benefit of that in doing it. But he's hard, and I think that's why a lot of people don't read John, because he is hard to get. But I'm glad, Loretta, that it's making a difference for you, and I hope it makes a difference for other people. And really, I mean, it makes me happier to know that you do more of this even when we're not together, because to me, that's the greatest thing as a pastor, to know that you are inspired to learn more about God and to draw closer to the Word of God when we're not together. That's the best thing a pastor could hope for. So, so thank you all. So we will pick up next week, and let's stop the recording.